This episode is brought to you by Farmers Insurance. When was the last time you reviewed your insurance policy? So it's been a while, huh? Well, no worries. My friends at the Austin Brummett Agency would love to hear from you and provide you with some amazing rates. Give them a call at 678-402-8262 or email them at abrummett@farmersagent.com. That's ABRUMIT at farmersagent.com, and tell them Harley sent you. Insiders, Inside the Bubble with Harley G is now sponsored by BetterHelp. As a partner of this episode, listeners can access the BetterHelp link located in the show notes to receive 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp and get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. Go to BetterHelp, that is BetterHelp.com/inside the bubble, the link to get started. You're listening to Inside the Bubble with Harley G, the podcast for the Superwoman. Every week, we connect with amazing individuals who share their inspirational experiences and stories while motivating and inspiring purpose. It's time to hang your cape. Grab your coffee, your water, your cocktail, and come on in Inside the Bubble with me, your host, Harley G. Welcome, insiders, to Inside the Bubble with Harley G. We have an amazing guest today, Mr. Ashley Scott. So I have titled him the Kid Whisperer. That's going to be his title. That is who he is and what he does, and we're gonna get into that. But he is the Kid Whisperer, and today I really want to get into how you got into your purpose. So you're an educator, Midtown cool. International, in Atlanta, and a coworker of mine, which is your partner, Aisha, connected us. And when I heard your story, I was like, wow. Like I really felt that you were the kid space, the educator space is your purpose. And you not only do it locally, but you actually do it internationally. Yeah. Ironic enough, international. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I want you to go back to the beginning and tell us how you even got into this space.
Into the travel space, the education space, or what specifically?
The education space, yes. Yeah. And he does have travel in there as well. We'll get to that.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. So I think I wanted to work with kids for a long time. I'll rewind that a little bit. Okay. I never graduated high school.
Wow.
I got my GED. I was I took the SAT the end of my 10th grade year. Mm-hmm. I got a 1370 on that.
What?
And
seriously? So you're like a little genius too? That's crazy.
I don't know if I'm a genius, but I did get a 1370. That was
on
a long
the first go?
On the first time, yeah.
Wow. Did you study like hard for it?
No, I didn't study. They said we had to take the SAT, so I signed up.
Excuse me,
and took
sir?
it. So,
okay, I need you to get out. We're done. We're done. Cut the tape.
But then I didn't know, and no one told me what to do with that, right?
Okay.
And so, fast forward, I got into a little trouble when I was in my 11th grade year, and I was in a boot camp, and I took my GED while I was in that boot camp.
Okay.
And then 12th grade year, all of my friends graduated high school, and I didn't. I didn't have enough credits to graduate.
Wow.
I had my son that year as well.
Okay. So here you are, 12th grade. You're not graduating. Your friends are leaving. Mm-hmm. You took the SAT, but you don't know what to do with that.
Nothing. Yeah.
Do you know where you want to go in life at this point? Like, what's happening?
No,
like,
I didn't know. I didn't know anything about what to do. Maybe I think because at some point, if we go many more years later, I was diagnosed with depression, but I think that's kind of probably where it kind of started.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I didn't know what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and there was really no prospects either. Like there was, even though I didn't know what I wanted to do, there was no direction to say, hey, what about this and what about that?
Right.
So my son's mom and I, we moved to Tampa, Florida for about 3 years.
Okay.
And I worked at a warehouse there. I had moved up and got promoted to a position that was less work. However, I was still coming home every day like filthy dirty. Like I worked in this warehouse. And at that point, I was like, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I was like, well, maybe I can go back to school. Maybe I can go to college. I had my GED. I took the SAT, And when you take the SAT, they ask you to send your scores to schools, right? I didn't know any schools, so I sent it to the local school that was in my town, Georgia Southern University. So I was like, maybe they'll let me get in.
Yeah.
So I reached out and applied, and it was like, yep, you're accepted.
Great.
They had a lot of my stuff, and so
Yeah.
I started school there.
Okay.
My original degree was going to be education, middle grade education. But at that point, after learning, and I was going to do a minor in child and family development, and I realized that I didn't really want to be in the classroom. I felt like my strengths and what I wanted to do was more aligned outside of the classroom. I still didn't know exactly though, but I knew I didn't want to be in the classroom at that point.
Okay.
So I changed my major from education to child and family development. Graduated. I did an internship at the YMCA. Did another internship at a group home for boys.
So why do you think that your desire to be in that space comes from personal experiences growing up?
No, not necessarily. I think as I look at my time at Georgia Southern, they have a lab school, and so I was with preschool students a lot. I was with child and family development is the study of children and humans from birth to geriatrics, right?
Okay.
So I would be able to, once graduating, could work in many different areas. So I got to work with younger kids, so like 6 months to like toddler. I got to work with preschool students. I got to work with pre-K students. And I got to work with older students, like geriatric, older humans, geriatric people. Some of our elders and senior citizens. And so I knew that space working with other people was, it made me feel good, for one. And I felt that when people left me, they felt good as well.
Okay.
Right? And so I knew I wanted to work with students. I'm just not in the classroom. And so I think that time in school led me to believe like, you're right on point in where you want to be. Yeah. Just right now, not in the classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you felt that fulfillment, right? Being in that space. Okay. So you're attending GSU in Georgia Southern University.
GSU, the real GSU, yes.
What?
Yes,
okay, challenge.
Yes.
Exactly. Okay. And so you kind of hone in on what you really want to do. So what happens now?
So I did a internship at the YMCA. My job there was LIT director. LIT is abbreviation for Leader in Training. Okay. So there's a program that the YMCA has for students who kind of grow out of your typical camp arena, right? Yeah. So they're a little too old to kind of do your camp stuff. Yes. But the Y still wants to keep those students, right, to not lose them, right? Yes. And so they create this program to help them to develop into future camp counselors. Okay. So it was my job to create the curriculum and to train those students to be camp counselors. So that was amazing. And those were older students I dealt with. So I'm saying like your 15, 16-year-old students. Okay. And then I did another internship at a group home for boys, and that allowed me to build really strong relationships with students who didn't have those type of relationships in their lives, right? They may have had their mom and dad, and they love their mom and dad, but not really an adult outside of that. And a lot of those kids were in the group homes not for things that they have done, but it was because they were removed by defects from their environment. So it could have been for drugs, it could have been from negligence, it could have been from abuse, or whatever the case may be. But most of them didn't have that adult connection. Yeah. And so I was able to kind of build my skills and get that experience with them in that way as well.
I feel like I know you through Aisha, right? And it's like just kind of hearing how you approach your relationship with children and how you build that relationship and how you build them up and the impact that you have on them. I'm like, this is why I call you the kid whisperer. But I'm like, how do you approach that? So let's say, tell us about a situation when you know you were dealing with a child that was really having a hard time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you approach that situation to even break that cycle for them, like to even get them to trust you, because that's hard.
Yeah, I think the trust part of our I think, I'm also coming into the realization of my space and my impact on children as well. So it has been a steady pace for me to realize, like, yeah, you are the expert when you walk into this room, into the space with these kids or any kids or education, right? So, imposter syndrome is real, right? But I've come to realize, a quick tangent, realize that, no, I'm not an imposter because I'm not trying to be anybody else.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
I'm trying to be me and the best me, right? And so I'm coming to a realization of that. So that trust factor has already been built.
Okay.
I'll tell you a story. I have a student, their name, Samaya, and they came to our school in the 11th grade.
Okay.
Our school is predominantly white. Right now, we're really at a good space. We're 50% white, 50% students of color. So we're really in a good space right now in terms of diversity. So Tamaya had a lot of transition to get over in terms of being in our school. The first couple of years were difficult because of COVID and being in a new space and being, in that senior class, one of, the only student of color in that senior class. We have small class sizes. Right. So, but, it was my job to make sure that Samaya knew that she had somebody at that school that she can turn to.
Okay.
In addition to being the faculty sponsor for the Black Student Union, and they meet with me regularly, weekly, I would take every single student, and I know every single student and what they like, what to get them excited, like a conversation starter to get them reeled in. And for Samaya, it's fashion. Oh. And Samaya loves fashion. She loves colors. She loves bold colors. And so when I can sit down, she also loves anything about Black people and the uplifting of Black people, right? Okay. So I can have all those conversations with Samaya. And it came to a point where there was a time where, she wasn't doing too well a couple of years ago with her classes and in jeopardy of not graduating, that kind of thing. And so I would just call her to my office and like sit her down and like,
oh gosh, that look.
What's going on? Oh. What do you mean, Mr. Scott? Like, don't even know what you mean.
Right.
What's going on? Tell me what's going on. And back and forth banter.
All
that back and forth. To that point, like, don't play me.
Right.
Something's going on. You need to tell me what's going on. And then, and inevitably, she was just like, okay, I'm having this problem, that problem, this problem, and then we just sit and talk. Just talk about those things.
Yes.
And not talk about school at all, right? Yeah. And I'm very transparent. All my students know most of my struggles, and they know most of my successes. And I think it's very important for our students to, for my students, to be aware of the journey. Yes. And not just of the
how you got there, the destination.
Yes, the destination. Right. And so as an example, yes, I was able to just be vulnerable and bring those intangible pieces from a student's life down to tangible points for me and her to talk about, right? And then to create a path. I was like, all right, every day I need you to email you. I'm gonna email you every day. What is your homework? And you're gonna email me how far you've gotten. Okay. I get emails all the time for students in that way. And it should, just build that relationship. Like, I think it's really important. I think through our conversation, I may reiterate often, that I think relationships are extremely important.
Yeah, they are.
Ladies, I know there's so much to do and not enough time in a day. Trust me, I'm right there with you. But what are you doing for yourself? Well, I've recently discovered Body Bar Pilates. Let me tell you a little bit about it. Body Bar Pilates will challenge all of your major muscle groups and provide you with a full body workout. Wow. Listen, I had to check it out. I took a class with Sherelle and it was amazing. They have workouts for all skill levels, whether you're just starting out or you're just looking for a new way to move your body. This is the community for you. Check out my friends at Body Bar Pilates East Cobb or give them a call at 678-941-4371. And don't forget to mention me, Harli G.
I don't want to be in a world where people don't understand that every single moment of the day that they interact with someone is defining their relationships.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you don't know that, or if you're ambiguous to that, or if you think that you don't really value that particular relationship, you're not going to.
You're not invested into it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna want to. You don't care.
You don't care.
I know, yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
So I know, talking to Samaya, that in 10 years from now, that we're going to be able to come back and have this conversation, because she joked, she's like, all right, she was like, I'm not coming back to school. I'm not going to be coming to no reunion or nothing. Like, you going to come to see me. and she was like, well, yeah, I'll come to see you. Well, that mean you going to come to the school.
Right, exactly.
So, this is making sure that students know that you
There's
care about them.
that's
And
there
then
for them.
not only that, it's like making sure that people know
Yes.
that you care about them.
Yeah.
Like I said, relationships are really big for me.
So, we definitely want to know how Samaya does.
Yes.
So keep us posted on
Samaya's
that.
going to Kentucky State.
What?
Yeah, she's going to Kentucky
Oh,
State.
that's so awesome!
Yeah,
Yay! Okay.
Yeah.
But is there a relationship, a specific relationship, with a student that you were just like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. I don't think it's like, it was so challenging that you were just like doubting yourself.
Yeah. It's really hard too, because you do all you can, because at some point I thought Samaya was going to be that student.
Yep.
Because you say she would say all the right things and would leave you, and you feel like, okay, this is the moment.
Got through.
This is the moment.
It's like parenting.
And then, exactly.
It's exactly like parenting.
Exactly like parenting. And then you would be like,
What
getting
happened?
information like they didn't turn in this assignment, or they didn't do this, or they
Yeah.
were disrespectful, or whatever the case may be.
And you're like,
And yeah, there were times where I thought Samaya was like, and to this point, I still don't know. I'm still not 100% convinced. You know what I'm saying? Because
yeah.
it's a work in progress.
Yes.
And I think for younger people, me included, when I was that age,
Yes.
like, those people need to know that people are invested. And so sometimes that does mean that you have to go back and water and water and water and water. And you may not necessarily see the fruits of that labor. You may not be able to harvest from that planting season, right?
Yeah.
And I don't care. Like, I don't care if I'm able to see Samaya graduate from college and go on to be successful, whatever industry that she chooses to be a part of. That's not
Your
while I'm
goal.
here. No. My goal is to lay the foundation for them, and to be someone, if she needs that person,
To always be able to
that I could be that person.
Yeah.
And I'd have several students who I feel like I'm that person for them. I just I was announced head of school for our school. Thank you.
Yay.
Probably a month and a half ago, maybe.
That sounds about right.
But I just put it on Facebook like yesterday.
Yeah.
So nobody knew about it. But I had a former student who instant messaged me on Facebook and said something like, Mr. Scott, I'm so happy that you are in this position. Like, I could not think of anybody else. Like, I knew that this was going to be, you would be head of school one day. And I'm just so sad that I wasn't there to be a student at that time. But I'm happy that you have it. And this student is starting in University of Tennessee, Chattanooga.
Wow.
And oh my God, I never this was a very difficult student for a lot of
Really?
different reasons. Yeah, just
Okay.
like mental reasons and
Yeah.
social emotional reasons.
Yeah.
And student went through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But he's there, and so
He's there. Yeah.
yeah. So I never thought that he would be, but it was not my job to witness those things, and I'm okay with that.
Okay.
As long as I'm laying the
Like
foundation.
you said, yeah, laying that foundation.
Yep.
So you have all this work locally, and then you were even able to take this work or this space internationally.
Yeah.
And started on a traveling path or
Yep.
whatever. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So I, first of all, Harley, I know that I am so blessed. Like my life is amazing. Like
Aww.
I have the perfect life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I have everything that anyone could. In their dying days, when people think about what they wish they wanted or whatever, like
You won't be able to say,
I
no,
have
I
it.
wish I did that.
No,
Or
I have
maybe
it all.
Yep.
I have it. I have
That's
two
amazing.
amazing boys,
Yeah.
and they both love me. I love them, and they are both amazing young gentlemen. I have an amazing partner. You've met Aisha.
Oh my God.
She is so dope, right?
I started stalking her like 2 minutes after I met her.
Listen,
I was just like, I'm sorry.
That
I
is a
apologize now for what I'm about to do.
that is a reoccurring.
How can you not?
Yes,
Like,
she is pretty
Chick
dope.
is amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
she is pretty
I hate
dope.
her. Okay.
But I started traveling with students back in 2009.
Okay, so where did that come from? Because the story behind you even starting that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a student. Her name is Tariana. I taught her in 4th grade.
Okay.
That was a tough year.
Okay.
That was my first year teaching.
Oh.
It was a tough year for her. I think
It's
it
tough
was.
all around.
That was tough all around, right? I came into that classroom like in September or October. Mm-hmm. The teacher that was there wasn't doing a good job, or felt like she wasn't doing a good job, and quit.
Oh, wow.
And so I was hired to take over in September, like at that point. Tariana was a student who I immediately connected with because I saw a lot of similarities. Mm-hmm. She would sit by my door every day during carpool and not say anything. Like when I first came in that classroom, she's extremely funny. One of the funniest persons I've ever met. Mm-hmm. But she wouldn't speak at that point after school. Like she would talk a lot in class. Mm-hmm. Like I would have to like, Tariana, please be quiet. Like, now's not the time to talk. Like focus on your work.
Right.
Like, but she wouldn't talk to me like personally. And so I would, during carpool, I would try to make jokes with her. She wouldn't. And one day she was like, Mr. Scott, I want to go on a field trip. I was like, okay, cool. We at this point, I had worn her down. Like I was like talking with her and she wasn't talking. And all of a sudden she was like opening up, right? And so after she began opening up. She revealed to me I want to go on a field trip. I'm like, okay, cool. It's my first year teaching, so the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to do everything, right?
Yeah.
And she like, I don't want to go to the aquarium. So that's when the Georgia Aquarium was just built.
Oh, wow.
She's like, I don't want to go to the aquarium. I'm like, all right, cool.
Okay.
And I was like, let's go to I don't want to go to the zoo.
Before you
like,
can even
okay.
get... You like,
where do you want to go? I want to go out of the country. So this is my first year, and I'm like, okay, how can I make that happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, all right, let me work on that, right? Mm-hmm. And so little did I know at that time, like, she had other friends, in her subdivision, and at younger age, she had, friends of different diversities, the different ethnic groups and race and genders, and the wide spectrum of different people who had already traveled, and she hadn't. Mm-hmm. So like, okay, let me make this work. I didn't get it approved by my then principal to do that, and I was very frustrated. Didn't like it at all. Mm-hmm. But at my next job, I did get it approved. Oh. And my first trip with students was to Costa Rica. Wow. And I had never thought about traveling internationally before. Mm-hmm. It wasn't I never traveled myself at that point.
Wow.
I didn't have a passport until I took those students
to
Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And so, but because of that little girl, right? Because of Tariana, she planted that seed within me, right? And because of that, I've traveled with probably close to 500 students to about 30 plus countries with students. 45 overall. I've been to 45 countries with other groups that I've traveled with. But because of Tariana, like that's how I started traveling. Yeah. So I started traveling with students and taking them on educational tours. And then I started kind of repeating those trips, like going to the same places. Because again, relationships are really big for me.
Yeah.
So I want people, when we travel places, I want them to know that we're coming back. Like we're not just there to say hey and take a picture with you and leave. No, we're there to build a relationship. So if you're pregnant, we're there. We're going to come back and see your child that was born. Or, we're going to see your oldest child, after they've gotten married, right?
Yeah.
Or we're going to come back and see more additions to the family. And someone has a new job or graduated high school or going to college. We're going to keep coming back and build relationships. And so
awesome.
that's how it all started.
Yeah. So when you're planning these trips, what are some key highlights, some things that you have to get accomplished so because like you said, this is not just like, hey, we're tourists, we're going to see this place and it'll be fun. What's behind that? What's the strategy behind these trips?
So I have different categories of trips. So I do student trips, that's only students, and then faculty and staff at my school.
Okay.
Then I have student trips that I lead myself. There are student trips, but I allow their parents or other adults to go on.
Okay.
And then there are my own trips in my company, Berry Tours, which are a combination between student trips and I allow family to go.
Okay.
And then also only adult trips.
Okay.
That we do. So different categories. However, all of them have to have a minimum level of local interaction. Like culture. That is local culture. And that is more than just we're going to eat some sort of food there, right? Or we're going to just speak to somebody. No, I want to see how people live.
Okay.
And I want all the people who travel with me how to see how people live and interact with them in their setting. And so sometimes that includes school visits. That includes, ceremonies or different celebrations that happen within local and communities.
Yes.
However, I can. So you asked about what is the bare minimum, like what needs to be included. That needs to be included.
Okay.
Like that cultural experience needs to be included.
Okay.
And so it looks different. So again, it could be, hey, we're going to go to school for a day with the kids. With my school, we're going to go to school for a day, or we're going to visit Guatemala during La Feria, which is a time. So we go to this place called San Pedro in Guatemala on Lake Atitlan, and every year they celebrate the birthday of the town. So San Pedro is Spanish for Peter. Yes. And so Peter is their patron saint of that town. And so they celebrate that every year. And then they celebrate that in other parts. So San Juan, so John is there, and San Pablo and Paul. So everyone has, San Pedro is like the biggest. And so we go there and we spend 10 days there. And part of that 10 days, about 4 or 5 of those days is during that festival time where we see, local musicians. It's like a little fair. Yeah. And they get to experience this local celebration. Yes. And really see how people in that part of the world live.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so what is one trip that absolutely stands out to you? Now I know you go to Guatemala, like that is like a reoccurring yearly thing trip, that you make it a point to go every single year.
Every year, yes.
Right. Is that it, or do you have another special place?
How much time do we have, Harli? Like, this is a hard question.
Pick one favorite spot.
I pick one favorite spot.
Ah, yes.
So because I've already mentioned Guatemala, I mentioned somewhere else. We went to Ghana.
Ooh.
And Ghana was, the people who went to Ghana with me said that was their favorite trip they've ever taken before. Wow. We took 15 people, and my trips, so these are all adults. So my trips with adults through my company are all small trips. And I want to keep it really small and intimate. Yeah. Because if we are going to do these amazing, unique, and authentic experiences, a lot of times larger groups
It's hard.
won't
It's
be able
hard
do
to.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I get it. Mm-hmm.
And if we're building relationships, right?
Exactly.
I want them to be able to remember the names of the people who
Yes.
they come with.
Yeah.
So we went to Ghana. Of course, we did, your tourist things like visiting the slave castles and having that experience, which is anybody who's never gone, you have to go.
Okay.
You have to have that experience
Okay.
to see where we came from, right?
Wow.
It will blow your mind.
I'm having chills.
Yeah, it will blow your mind in a good way and a bad way.
Okay.
You'll say, "Wow, we are so strong."
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you'll say, "Dang,
We've come through a
so-
lot.
yeah,
We've been through a lot.
right?
Exactly. Yes.
I don't think there's no people on the face of this earth who could have gone through what we have gone through
Wow.
and be as brilliant and amazing as we are.
Mm.
I'm sitting beside this amazing black woman here who is starting this amazing podcast and business wise, and you have an amazing family and husband and your job and I'm looking at my partner and I'm looking at all other people I know, black of African descent, who are doing some amazing things, who also carry those years of trauma as well.
Yes.
There's no other group. But so we went to the slave castles. We went to Kumasi and went to the home of the Ashanti tribe, and we visited with the king of the Ashanti tribe and his wives, and we spent, oh my God, more time than we were supposed to spend there. But we were there for like 2 hours, talking with them and like asking questions and learning, and it was amazing. And then we went to a very, very small village.
Okay.
I cannot even tell you the city it was in.
Okay.
We drove, hours to get there. But one of my coworkers, he's from Ghana, and he helped me organize this trip. So the tribe, the city, the village was the village of his grandmother.
Okay.
So his grandmother used to be, in many, many years, like the queen of this particular town, and her husband was the king. And we went to that town and we sat with her again for hours, and she told us stories, and then we had like a little naming ceremony where she gave us all names.
What?
Yes. So in Ghana, there's a traditional naming ceremony that people do where they are all dressed in white and they go through that kind of official process.
Yeah.
But this was like one-on-one with this elder, right? And she named us. In Ghana, everyone has, whether you're male or female, your name depends on the day you were born.
Oh.
So there are 7 names for women and 7 names for men.
Wow.
And so it all depends on the day you were born. I was
Yeah.
born on a Wednesday. So if you were born on a Wednesday, your name would be different because you're a woman
Right.
than my name. So my
Right.
name is Kweku. So she gave us our name, right, based on the day we were born. And then she named us something else.
Wow.
My name was Kweku Frimpong. I was named after her first husband. She said because he was she liked that he was very confident. He was tall. He was handsome. She's like, I'm naming you Kweku Frimpong because you're the leader of this group.
Wow.
And then she named everybody, and so everybody was.
That is
having an amazing-
unforgettable.
It's very unforgettable.
This is a lifetime memory
Yeah,
that those individuals got to experience.
yeah. It's
Wow.
so again, I've traveled to a lot of countries and a lot of countries multiple times, right? So I get to witness, even though it may be my 6th or 7th time that I've gone to a country.
But it feels like something new
It's
every
something
time.
brand new because I have new
Yes.
people who've never experienced it. So
Right.
I know what's coming.
Yes.
But then I get to experience that really amazing thing that I know is coming
With them.
through their eyes. And so
Yes.
they're going to give me something new.
Right.
And then I can then start asking them questions and probing them about things that I know that I've learned from other people when they
Right.
visited this particular place.
Yeah.
And so then that begins to expand that particular experience for them as well.
Wow.
I have another example. I was in Spain, and this was a student tour, and we take students to Spain, and their curriculum at our school is written around their destination that they travel to.
Okay.
So they learn about that place before they get there. This particular student's topic was architecture.
Okay. Ooh.
So they all have to choose a topic before they leave,
Yes.
and then they have to create a guiding question.
Okay.
And then their guiding questions what they have to answer while they're on the trip. So her guiding question was, how did the Moors influence global architecture? And so she was super excited about going there. So
Yeah.
when we got on the plane, she was like, I can't wait to go to Spain. I can't wait to go. I was like, we're gonna have so much fun and
Yeah.
just relishing and all that. And then when we landed, we were in Madrid at first. We started in Madrid, and the first day of tour, it's like, when are we gonna go to Granada? Because that's where more of the Granada and the southern Spain has more Moorish influence than northern Spain and central Spain. So like, we're gonna go there, maybe in a couple of days, right? So a couple of days passed. We were in Toledo. Like, are we going to Granada tomorrow? Like, no, we're not gonna go. She wanted to see the Moorish architecture, right?
Yes.
And so the Alhambra is in Granada, which is she was really excited to see. And when we finally got to the Alhambra, we walked into the building, and she just stopped. And she looked around. She was like looking, and she couldn't move. She was speechless. And I was like, Antonia, it's time to go. So I had to push her, and she's like, wait. And she walked over to the walls. She put her hands on the walls. They have like. In that particular place, the walls were tiled and different kind of Islamic patterns and stuff. And so she was just looking at the patterns, and she was like counting them, and it's also mathematical as well.
Yeah.
And so I finally got her out the room, and we went to another room, which was even more grand. Right, the ceiling was tiled. It was amazing. I literally had to pull her out, and then she started crying.
Oh no! What are you talking about?
She was like, I knew it was going to be beautiful, but I didn't know it was going to be this beautiful. She's like, I don't want to leave. I was like, well, we can stay here a little bit longer, but we got to go.
Yeah.
You and I can stay back. So everybody else went. So we sat down on the floor. There's no seats or nothing. So we sat on the floor, and I let her soak it all in and take as much time as I could give her.
Yeah.
Right? And her mom said that was her favorite trip ever. Yeah.
How will anyone ever be able to beat that experience? I mean, like, I wasn't even there, and I'm sitting here like, I want to sit on the floor. I want to take a seat. I want to. Oh, wow.
I got to give you one more example.
Okay.
I got to give you one more.
Yes.
So there's one student
this.
I taught in 5th grade, and she loved Greek mythology.
I love Greek mythology too.
Really?
Yes, I do.
So
that is on my bucket list to go to Greece.
Really? You need to go to Greece.
I'm going to.
So you really need to
Okay.
go. It's amazing.
Got it.
Maybe this story will inspire you too.
Oh.
So she didn't know she loved Greek mythology until one day there was a book on my bookshelf, and she pulled it out, and she was starting to read it, and she took it home. I didn't even notice at the time. She never brought it back. Didn't even notice at the time either.
Thief. No,
I know.
I'm
Right? I was like, listen, I told her that too. I'm like, you done stole my book. But I didn't notice until this was in 5th grade. So she was in 11th grade.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So when I put out a trip to Greece, her mom immediately, she's not at my school anymore, immediately signed on to this trip.
Wow.
Her and her mom and her sister. And she said, this has been Cambrielle's dream trip since she left you in 5th grade. Wow. And she was there, and she knows all the Greek gods. She knows all their stories. She knows all the little anecdotes. And she had to do a project, of course. But when we finished, she was like, never in my wildest dreams. She's like, I have learned. No, I don't think we were finished. We were in Delphi. She was like, I have read about this before. And she started telling me about what happened, and I don't know. She's like, I have read about this. I never thought I'd get to see it here and touch and feel and walk through the stories that I've read about. And we walked through, we went to Olympia and went to the first Olympic village and the first Olympic stadium. And stadium is like a Greek, I think the Greek word, I'm going to get this wrong, but the first Olympic arena was just a track. It was just like you run straight and you run back. They had little poles that they would grab to help them turn around. So it wasn't like a oval, right?
Right.
So they would run up and run back like however many times they had to. And our kids ran on the first Olympic stadium, and she was like, I never thought I'd be able to do this. And she's in my arms crying, and her mom is there as well.
Yeah.
So her mom is also seeing this. So her mom, is crying, sent me like a bouquet of roses later, and like thanked me so much for making her child's dreams come true. And so yeah, that's what we do. We make dreams come true in that kind of way.
You make dreams come true. Yeah. So you're
hopefully,
a kid whisperer, and then you make dreams come true. Like, seriously?
Kid whisperer. Maybe I need to put that on my LinkedIn.
Exactly. That is your new handle.
Yeah.
We make dreams come true, and we take you on your We take you on your favorite trip. I mean,
Yes.
like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Okay, so you have, and so this started during the pandemic. So this is not even like, to me, I sit here because I know it sounds like it's something that you've been doing for a decade.
No, I've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
Okay,
So I started.
okay.
No, it started in 2009 was my first trip. I started my business in 2017.
Okay. I think that's where
yeah.
I got. Okay.
So I started my business where because I was using another company and they're
Yes.
it's an educational tour company,
Right.
and their prices weren't exorbitant.
Right.
They weren't the highest, they weren't the lowest. They were a good price in terms of an international trip, but they were still higher than. It was still more expensive than some of the students who I really wanted to could afford.
Okay.
So I started my own with the guidance and the inspiration and the help from Aisha, because she was like, "You're already doing this, like do your own thing."
Exactly.
Like, let me tell you something. She again. Amazing.
Her name keeps coming up. I don't know why, but anyway.
And, I keep telling her that too. She doesn't believe
She
me.
gonna be listening to this.
Everywhere I go, her name comes up.
Well, I mean, she is Miss Atlanta.
Yeah, for real.
That's her
everywhere.
name. That is her title.
Yes.
That I have given her, Miss Atlanta.
But she inspired me, and so I started in 2017, and that's when I started taking students to other countries under my own company. As
Yeah. I mean, there's so much benefit with doing this with your company. Just the cultural aspect of it is it's priceless.
Yeah.
It is priceless
It
because
is.
you go to places and you want to travel, and then in a lot of situations, these kids have read about these places.
Yeah.
But to be able to experience it, to be there, that's why I was like, I felt it.
Yeah.
Like when she said she's not going anywhere.
She
like,
didn't want to go.
I felt it. Like,
I had
felt
kids
it in
who've
my
never
soul.
been out of the country before, right?
Yeah.
To go on their first flight with me, right? That's what I told you. Like really, like I'm 45, so I've the last couple
That's
years
it?
I've really been, whatever.
Seriously?
I've really been reflecting on just my life
Must
and
be
like
weird.
must be. Just reflecting on my life and my impact on people, and I have people in their first flight ever. Their parents said, "I trust you to take my child on his first
huge.
flight ever across the country to China."
As a parent, that is you. China?
Yeah.
You
I
just
mean,
said China?
yeah. I mean, that was one example, but I mean, any country that I named,
Yeah.
there was a child on that trip and they never flew.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
You've been to China.
Yeah, China.
How's
yeah.
that?
China was good.
Okay.
I've never really experienced racism ever.
What?
But traveling rather, I take that
Yeah.
back. Traveling I haven't, but going to China that was the worst.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
it
you
was
gotta
good.
tell us now.
Okay, so I was there. It was I've been to China a couple times, so I was there, and I was exploring by myself, and I got further away from the hotel than I had wanted to.
Okay.
And I didn't know how to get back, so I was like, I just took, because in China there's like so many small narrow alleyways, and like you can go and find this little restaurant here, and like it's and we're in Beijing, and so I was like, I don't know where I am, so I just need to catch a cab because I know the address to the hotel.
Yeah.
So I tried to hail a cab nonstop, 20-30 minutes nonstop, and the mini passed me by, right? So at that point, I was like, okay. And I had been out for a while, and then I was hungry. Because in China, like, I speak Spanish, but so if I go to any place that speaks Spanish, I know I can speak the language.
Yeah.
If I go somewhere that speaks French, I can make up some words because of the Romance language, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Even if I go to Germany, right? Like, if I go somewhere, I can kind of you can't make out those characters. They're just
No,
a character.
you
don't
can't.
know. You don't know what.
No.
You don't know what it is.
No.
I was hungry. I was tired. And so,
And how was the communication?
I don't
Or
speak. Yeah, it was none.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so, I said, so I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? So I figured out, okay, I'm gonna keep trying to hail a taxi.
Yeah.
This guy walked by with his wife and his daughter, and I was like, do you speak English? He's like, yeah, I speak English. Like,
Okay.
Can
Thank God.
Can you help me? Can you help me hail a taxi? I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's not the same way because all I
Yes.
do is throw my hand up and and the car stops, right?
Right.
He's like, okay, yeah, I'll help you. So he did the same thing, held his hand up and called a taxi, and the taxi stopped, and then
Don't.
I opened the door,
No.
and the taxi drove off.
Oh!
So he's like, hold on. So he held another one. Taxi came. He spoke to the driver. This guy wants to get to this hotel. Can you help me? All in Mandarin. And the guy was like, I don't know what he said, but in essence, no. And turned on. I know he turned on the busy sign on the taxi, and drove off. And at that point, he started to apologize because then he knew.
Oh my gosh.
So then his wife called him over.
Mm-hmm.
I might get emotional because his wife called him. His wife called him over, and they started speaking in Chinese. And then he came back. He held another taxi. He opened the door and he got in the car.
Uh-huh.
And then he motioned me to get in.
Uh-huh.
And then he told the driver where he needed to go. And he told me to close the door, and he left. And he got in it with me. And I guess he told his wife he'd meet her later. And he rode with me to the hotel. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, right? So, I mean, at that point, I wasn't where I am now.
Right.
In terms of like awareness and forward thinking, and of course I thanked him. I offered him money. He said no. You know, had I had known then what I know now and how I operate now, I would have gotten his contact information and stayed in touch with him and do it. But I was hungry. I was hangry.
It was.
You know what I mean? Like
that's like hungry and angry at the same time.
Okay, so but yeah, that's you know.
And what are some emotions that you felt at that time?
Well, you know, I mean, it was some of the same emotions because I knew why they weren't stopping.
Right.
So I was pissed, but then I was also low key scared because I'm in another country.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that fear comes like, okay, how do I get what I need?
How do I maneuver through this right now?
I have needs.
Yes.
How do I communicate my needs right now
Yes.
in this country where I don't speak the language?
Right.
Right. And that's different when you're in another country that you don't have that experience.
Yes.
Yeah, you still have the needs and the communication barriers there, but you don't feel as isolated.
Yeah.
So anger was one. You know, that those emotions that we go through when we have those racial situations. So you have anger, you have sadness, you have you're despondent a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it's a flood of emotions. But when he got into the car, I don't know if I registered at that point just the level of humanity that was extended at that point from him. Mm-hmm. I do recognize it now.
Yeah.
And so as I reflect on that, it's just more. As I reflect on that, it's more of his actions now than the actions of the Cavs.
Exactly.
Right? It's more of like we are connected.
Yeah.
Right. I see you.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes.
Right? And you need help, and it is in my capacity right now to help you. Like, regardless of what he had to give up at that time, he was willing to give that up.
Right.
And he felt like me being safe in the hotel was much more valuable and much more needed than what he needed at that time. So, yeah, it was a flood of emotions.
And you know what? One of my favorite authors is Brene Brown, and I'm reading Atlas of the Heart right now.
Okay.
And, you know, her definition, because connection is one of my core values, her definition of connection is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
It is when you make somebody feel seen, heard, and valued.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what he did.
Yeah.
You know, he was able to see you, he heard you, and he took action.
Yeah, for sure.
And he put your needs at that point, your need became more important than his.
And then that's like, again, I was not where I am. I was not then, I was not where I am now. And had I been, there would be some actions that I would have taken, but that's exactly how I lived my life as well. So through many different situations, whether here with students locally in my school, whether it be young adults who I mentor now, or whether it be people and kids in other countries internationally. That is how I live my life now,
Yeah.
to ensure that I see every single person, which is why the relationships are really big for me, right?
Exactly.
That I see every person, I hear them, and I take action when needed. You know, whether that means, you know, we're in, you know, Guatemala. Though Aisha told you, and we donated like 500
Yes.
pair of glasses to people in Guatemala
Yes.
this year. Whether that means that we are donating, you know, school supplies to 2 classrooms in Cuba the last time we went there, or right now my school is donating school supplies to Ghana, so we have 3 barrels of stuff that we're gonna.
Wow.
We're starting with 3 barrels right now. Hopefully we donate
Well,
more.
it'll grow.
You know what I mean?
It'll
So
grow.
it's always
Yes.
trying to ensure that we hear what the need is,
Yes.
and we, you know, take action, and not, oh, I know those people, they need this, so I'm
Right.
gonna go do this for them.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what someone needs. Yeah, they're gonna take it, but do you really know?
Really? Have you
And you're
heard
not
them?
gonna know unless you
Right.
actually have a relationship with people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, you mentor kids.
Yes.
Why is it so important to you? You talked about the relationship aspect, but why is it so important to you for these kids to have a mentor like you?
I don't necessarily think it's important for them to have a mentor. I think it's important for them to know that they have someone in their corner, no matter what happens, that will be there to support them, right? And of course, that's mentorship, right?
Yeah.
But more than just the mentor, hey, I'm
Yes.
gonna guide you through this or guide you through that.
Right.
I think it's more important for them to know, like, even in your darkest hour, when you think that you have failed,
You can call.
you have a cheerleader,
Yeah.
right? Like, you have somebody you can call. And so, from the students that I have encountered and I have been blessed to be a part of their lives, like, many of them, whether they have a good relationship with mom and dad or not, a lot of them don't necessarily feel that they can tell parents everything.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
I totally get
And
that.
so
Yeah.
I am that person that they can be like, they can cuss with, reasonably with. Like, if this is me and you, yeah.
Yes,
you know,
okay. Got it.
But, you know, I'm that person that they can be like, you know, yeah, I have a student who wanted to be a funeral home director. And
Wow.
I know, right?
I mean, that's not wow.
I know. She was very
Really?
Yeah, she was very like
Like
adamant that that's what she wanted. But
interesting.
she did not. She didn't want to. One, she didn't want to study, right? So she was in the program. She didn't want to study, but also she cheated on some things,
Okay.
right? And so she was like, "I know this is what happened." I'm like, "I've cheated before. I just didn't get caught
Been
a
there, done
million
that.
times. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of people do cheat.
But you
whether
can
they,
bounce back from
Right, and you
that.
can bounce back.
Exactly.
Like, so what's your plan now? So
Yes.
are they going to give you 0? What's going to
Yeah.
happen? No, they're going to make me make it up. Then it means you need to study. That means you need to study.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do to study? Well, I don't know. I have a friend of mine who is an organizer. You need to interview her on the podcast.
Okay.
She's a professional organizer,
Okay.
and she focuses on student organization. And
that's
so
so
I was like, I have somebody who can help you. I'll pay for her sessions. You just let me know when you're ready. I'm ready right now. All right,
Okay.
cool. So she was able to like help and get her organized and look at her space, you know, organize her space well, look at her planner, and help out. Like, I think it's important when, especially when they're at their lowest, they know they can have someone to help brainstorm and, you know, share mind space with to
Yeah.
figure out what's the next step.
And one of the things too from that, one of the things that I have to constantly keep telling myself is, you are not defined by your mistake.
No.
You are not defined by your mistake.
That is important, Harley.
It is.
Because we
And
got to
it's-
know that too.
Whoo! Like I said, I have to keep telling myself that
Yeah,
because, you know, I feel like everybody's a little bit of a perfectionist. And to me, making a mistake was the worst thing that could happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I pride myself so much on doing it right and being amazing at whatever I'm doing, that if it's not that way, or if I make a mistake,
Yeah.
it's almost like it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then why push forward at that point? You've already made a mistake, and so you already ruined it.
exactly.
So why even keep going?
And I go down the rabbit hole.
Yep.
I'm like, oh my God. So then I start doubting. And it really took a lot of personal growth
Yeah.
for me to understand what I was doing to myself, and for me to put measures in place, for me to understand my triggers.
Yeah.
And then for me to put things in place to not allow myself to go there, which is so hard because it's something that I've been programmed to do all my life. And so it was one of the things, and then that impacted my confidence. So that was one of the things that was huge for me. It's like, okay, you're gonna fall in some instances, you're gonna fall real hard. But how do you dust yourself up and get back up? Which is like, with my kids, parenting, you make mistakes,
Right.
and so it's really important to me that when I make a mistake and it's with them or it's impacting them, that I go back to them and say,
Yeah, Mama.
I didn't get that right.
Yeah.
I screwed that up. I messed that up.
Yeah.
Quick story, but my son came to me and he was like, can I have $3 for? And I was just like, why do you need $3? Like, either I thought, I don't know what space I was in. I can't remember what space I was in at the time when he asked me the money, but I was like, I'm not giving. And basically, I was just like, I'm not giving you $3.
Yeah.
And he was, or maybe I was like, I'm not giving you $3 because I didn't know what he was gonna do with it, and maybe I didn't ask or whatever, and so I just like I was like, I'm not giving it to you. So then I went to work and I was talking to my VP and I was just like, I screwed up. Like, my child came to me and he asked me for $3, and for whatever reason, whatever space I was in, I didn't give him the $3. And I was like, I messed up. And she said, it's okay. So what you do is you go back to him and you tell him, listen, I made a mistake. Should have given you that $3. Matter of fact, here's $6. And if you want to buy, if the $3 was for to buy like a Chick-fil-A sandwich or whatever, right? Buy yourself a Chick-fil-A sandwich and buy your friend a Chick-fil-A sandwich.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh. So that day he came home from school. I pulled him to the side. I said, listen, yeah, I screwed that up. Like, I apologize. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. You guys don't come with a manual.
Yeah,
I wish you did, but you don't, right?
So much
you
easier.
don't come with a manual.
And
so there's a lot of things I'm not going to get right.
Yeah.
However, I want to tell you that I made a mistake. I want to acknowledge it, and I'm going to make more mistakes.
Yeah.
And that really helped our relationship.
Yeah.
And
what do you need the $3 for?
For a Chick-fil-A biscuit. At school. It
At
was
school.
Chick-fil-A biscuit.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
Chick-fil-A biscuit day.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I felt so bad, right? And then there's also the guilt, right? And so I had to tell myself.
So now he the only kid with a Chick-fil-A biscuit. They around here. You know what, Harley?
Exactly. Mom fail. But anyway, and so I was just like, but I also, I felt guilty. I felt all the emotions. But I also felt good that I was able to show my child, listen, I'm a parent and I screw up.
Yeah, yeah.
And hopefully, you know what I'm saying?
It comes back around. Like, when they get older, like, they're going to know. Get on a quick story. My son, who is 26 now, wait.
Can't believe you have 26.
95. So he'll be 26 this year.
Wow.
In October, he'll be 26. When he was in the 10th grade, we were going to China. Mm-hmm. And so he was going to go. Mm-hmm. He was going to go for free. Like, nothing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, but your grades can't drop.
Yeah.
So I got a call from a teacher. I don't even know what class. He's not turning his homework. So I was like, DJ, get these grades up or you're not going. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, it's not nothing. It's just homework. I already turned it in. You know how they do. Mm-hmm. I turned in my homework already.
You sure?
She just didn't put it in the grade book. Whatever.
That look.
Okay, cool.
Oh, God.
And then, I don't know, sometime shortly after that, there was another call or email or something like, DJ, This is your last time. Grades go up, or you're not going to go. And so some more time came, and there's another grade that went up. So I was like, I took him to the computer and showed him the website where we had the trip, showed him his name, and showed him cancel. I just showed him that I canceled it in front of him. Like, you're not going. I'm still going. But you're not going. And we will figure out some places for you to be when I'm not here. But you're not going. And he was like, what? It's just this class and they do homework? Like, no, we've already had this conversation. You agreed that it was, I don't know what time the time it has spanned. But it's been this much amount of time and nothing has changed. So fast forward, and he texted me one day, randomly out the blue. Dad, I wanted to say that I really appreciate you. I love you so much. You're a great dad. And how I parent Kimberly and Ash. She has 2 kids, Kimberly Elise and Ashley. He's a junior. I call him DJ. And so his son is the third. And so he's like, I parent Ashley and Kimberly the same way. And I just want to let you know you did a really good job as a single parent, this and that. And,
that's it. Drop the microphone.
Yep. And so I called him a day or 2 later, and we was talking some more. And we talked about the China thing. He was like, no, you was right to do that, Dad. It's one of the biggest regrets I have that I didn't get to go to China, but you didn't have a choice. And you taught me that. Yeah. So, when they get older, they come back.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Chick-fil-A biscuit. We'll come back from that eventually in life.
Yes, for sure.
So I have one last question for you.
Yes.
Do you feel like you're walking in your purpose?
Yeah, I do. Again, that has come with some recent and some, some reflection in the past years or 2. But when I am with students, when I'm with kids, when I'm traveling, and when I'm with kids, I don't feel like it's work. Even though I know one thing that has happened since COVID happened, everybody stopped traveling. The year before COVID, 2019, I went on 15 international trips that year.
What?
So either with students or adults or whatever, I was leading about 15 international trips that year. So I was in a constant rotation in the process of planning for the next one, right? Planning, I was planning for 2020 at that year, right? And then 2020 happened, I was already planning for 2021 and 2022. But when the COVID happened, I stopped. So having to pick that back up, I realized it is extreme work. But when you're in it, when I'm doing it, I don't feel none of it. And even when I'm at work, I had a meeting with my principal, and I had to have a conversation with one of our students who, in the 10th grade, who was not making good choices with his computer. Looking at, on sites that are inappropriate and doing all kinds of things. So I was like, well, we just need to have a conversation with that student, right? And so I brought the student in and said, look, because before having the conversation, I blocked every site from the computer. So basically, it was a very expensive paperweight because he couldn't do anything with it, not on the internet. And so then I was like, okay, but he needs to know. So I brought him in. I was like, look, you've made some bad choices. He's like, I know. I was like, and I want to make sure that you have the space to grow into responsibility, but also we have boundaries around you. As adults, we want to make sure we keep you safe and keep you out of things that we know that are not going to be good for you at this age. Yeah. But also want to make sure you have the boundaries so that you can also grow into responsibility. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to, from school time, you're going to have a lot of access to everything, but you're going to have to make sure that your computer is facing an adult at all times in the class. From 12 to 1 during lunch, you're only going to have access to these particular websites. That's it. All school websites. Now, what I want to do is I want you to right now choose 4 websites that you want to go to, and I'm going to add those 4 websites as well. And then in 2 weeks, you can come back, you can add 4 more websites. And in 2 more weeks, you can add 4 more. And we want to make sure that you are growing in your responsibility and where you're growing in your decision making and your choices. And we left that. He was like, I understand, you're right. it seems like a natural consequence. And my principal said, wow, I wish I could be as good as you in those moments where you lead with love and kindness, but you have a strong hand in discipline.
Yes.
Like you say that this is the line and you are never to cross the line.
Yeah.
And because you crossed the line, here's your consequences.
Exactly.
However, we also want to be here for you, and show and with compassion, right? So yeah, whenever I'm with kids and whenever I'm, traveling, it never seems like work. I wake up in the morning and I get to work. I have, for the past 10 years, is where I've been in my particular school. This is the 10th year. I have never gotten up and felt like I didn't want to go.
I don't want to work today.
No, never. In 10 years, I have not. And when I'm there, like I stay late a lot, especially the last couple of weeks, a lot. But it's never been begrudgingly. I know there's work to do and I'm going to do it. And it's the work that I love to do. So yes, I do feel like I'm walking in my purpose. I am blessed every day. Like I said before, I am so blessed. I have the perfect life. God has blessed me with an amazing family and support system in terms of Aisha, with my kids, and then my extended family at the school that I work. So
and your extended family globally.
Yes, for sure, globally.
Yep.
Yeah. I have friends except for
every continent.
Except for Antarctica.
Oh gosh.
Except for Antarctica, I have friends that I have messages with through WhatsApp right now.
Wow.
Within the past, let's say 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we check in with each other and.
That's amazing. We're gonna have to go to China though and find that man.
You got.
We're gonna have to go find him.
I wish I could find him.
Let's take a trip and let's go find him.
I wish I could find him for sure.
All right.
I wish I could.
So anyway, well, wow. So I can't believe it, but this is it.
Yeah, no, it was really fast.
I know.
It was lovely though. I loved it.
I know.
Really appreciate it.
So,
I really enjoyed it.
Yes, I did. Oh my gosh. So much. I learned so much. But yes, insiders, this is our show for today. So had an amazing time, amazing conversation with Ashley. Make sure that you guys subscribe to the pod and follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Inside the Bubble HG. We are dropping new episodes every week, every Monday. Yep. We have new episodes. And as you see, I mean, it couldn't be more prevalent in today's episode. There's always a purpose in your story. That is my handle. That is what I say all the time. But whatever you're going through, whatever experience there is, I truly believe there's a purpose in it.
I do too.
So thank you for joining us today, for sharing your story, your experience. You truly are the Kid Whisperer, by the way. You really are. Like, you can take that. We're going to make t-shirts.
I'm going to put it on LinkedIn.
Listen. That is your new title.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys again next time. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed our show today. Hit the subscribe button and share. Share this pod with your family, with your friends, with your girlfriends, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Inside the Bubble with HG. Keep the conversation going. Drop us a heart emoji, engage with us. We would love to hear from you. New episodes are dropping every Monday on your podcast streaming platforms. And remember, there's purpose in your story.